Hey everybody, good morning. How are you? Hey, so yes, I am now the CEO of a 7-person startup called Vivanda, so big title, little tiny company. And I was in the CIO club with Tony for a long time. And I don't know if you realized it, but you just heard some thoughts from really a world-class business leader. I mean, Tony has an amazing track record, has done a truly phenomenal job across that whole range of business teams that he's led over the years. I think we should give him another round of applause. All right, so everybody stand up, please. All right, so if you don't like to eat, or you're not interested in growth as a priority for your company, go get some coffee. If those two things have some level of interest to you, the next 30 minutes should be okay. Sit down and buckle in. All right, I need the clicker. Is this the clicker? All right, here we go. So I'm trying an interesting format. I hope it's interesting. I'm going to talk really fast, which is not a surprise. But I'm going to give you a lot of stats to get your attention. There's some really important things going on in this world associated with the connected consumer and how it's affecting CP. EJ talked about it, Lori talked about it, many of the speakers have talked about it. There are some profound changes afoot, and we are on the cusp of seeing change. I've been in the industry for nearly 30 years, like we have never seen. I do not say that lightly. So I'm going to try to give you some context. We're going to talk a lot about food, but I think that there's some ideas in here that actually extend. So basically 3 things. One is we're going to talk about the connected consumer. We're going to do it in the context of food. 2, I'm going to give you a little case study that started out at McCormick and ended up in my little business, Vivanda. And then 3, I'm going to give you 3 recommendations and some food for thought going forward. All right, so like I said, buckle in, here we go. This is going to be fast. All right, taste drives choice. Who cares? Who cares? Here's why we care. 87% of people say that taste ranks number 1 when it comes to food choices. So that means when you go to the grocery store, it's not the toilet paper, it's not the shaving cream, it's not the hair, it's not the shampoo, it's the food that you're going to buy, which is driving those trips. More on that in a second. But taste drives choice. You know, most consumers claim that they're bored with their food. That translates into unmet demand. EJ quoted it yesterday. 9 is the number of meals the average household in the average household repertoire. 9. No wonder we're freaking bored, huh? Nearly the same number of folks, taste relieves the boredom. Taste drives choice. Taste is the number 1 decision criteria. Taste meets the unmet need. Uh-oh, maybe we're onto something here. Okay, what's the overall context? 5 billion adult meals each week. This is all in the United States. 250 billion meals a year. Data says that over 1/3 of them are largely up for grabs. Over 1/3, at least 1/3 are up for grabs. There are 14 billion shopping trips that we do a year. 14 billion driven by food. Now think about the opportunity to have an impact on the consumer. What do we do more frequently than this that gives us an opportunity to make our brands relevant? Think about it. Name something. Good luck with that. There isn't anything. When I saw this, I thought the decimal was in the wrong spot. 35,000, average assortment in a grocery store. 0.8%, this comes from Catalina. 0.8% is what the average household their assortment is for the average household is. I submit to you, consumers have some unmet needs. Okay, now we switch to red because I'm going to scare you a little bit. It scares me. This scared us at McCormick. This is some data that was just released last week. Again, this is from Catalina. The top 100 CPG brands, sales and market share are down, even as overall categories grow, are down. Less than 3% of new products, this is like a forever statistic, succeed. How much do we spend as an industry launching new stuff? And it doesn't stick. This is one of my personal favorites. We work in businesses that, in aggregate, food in the U.S. is almost $1 trillion at home. We spend tens of billions, and we lose 30 cents on the dollar on trade spend. Tens of billions. And if you're going to summarize that, what are we spending that to do? To influence choice, to activate the consumer. As there are shifts to e-commerce, yeah, it's small, but it's growing. The risk, I'll give you some good news in a little bit, I promise, but just to get your attention. The risk is that lost sales are up to 10% of traditional food retailers in the next 10 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at a time in our industry where we are about to see winners and losers created at unprecedented scale. What are your marketing teams spending most of their digital budgets on? Does that make you laugh? Really? For many companies, that's your digital strategy. We've heard about the connected consumer. Connected consumer, it's awesome. What are we doing? We're buying display ads. That's our answer. Meanwhile, hot prices at the shelf and people don't walk up and down the aisles. Genius. One of the great thinkers in the history of consumer products, Kanye West, once said, brands need to help people achieve things rather than simply barking at them. Funny. What do you think? Pretty true. That's why we're losing share, ladies and gentlemen. Brand loyalty is no longer given, and we're like a football team that's been calling the same play for years and years and years. And guess what? It's not picking up the yards that it used to pick up. It's time to come up with some different plays. All right. There is good news. All of you, most of you, are members of this amazing club called the Network of Food. And the good news is the connected consumer is driving it. You know all that bad stuff I just talked about? There's hope. Here's why. E-commerce in CPG is tiny. It's less than 2% in the US. But a couple things to know. Digital touch points are affecting over 50% of what's already purchased. 50, not 0.5, 50. Not 0.5% like the 0.8% of what's bought from the store, but 50. That's big time impact. Half of our growth, at least through 2020 and then maybe more beyond, will come from that little tiny slice called e-commerce. That's why you got to pay attention to it. It may be tiny, but it's where half your growth is likely to come from. And if you don't nail that, Houston, you have a problem. We already have reached a tipping point on consumers using their devices that they carry around with them to make shopping lists or meal plans. So you say, gotcha, foodies, there's only a handful of those folks. How many people are foodies? Like 5%? In this study, A foodie was defined as somebody who went and researched like recipes within the last week. Almost everybody does it. Who do you know that doesn't like to talk about food? Can I see a show of hands of who here in the room doesn't like to talk about food? There's not any hands up. Are you asleep, or is it because you like talking about food? Number one source of information. Millennials, 25 to 34, people head to the kitchen with their smartphones or tablets. You know what they also head to? The grocery store. They don't make lists. Their list is a recipe. That's what they're looking at when they're looking at their phone. And then texting their friends to ask them what they think about it. Growth cohorts. Where is your growth going to come from? Let me give you a couple of ideas. Hispanic and Latino Americans and millennials massively over-index as digital users. Massively. You knew about millennials. Did you know that about the Hispanic and Latino community? It's been awesome, the discussion about Under Armour. Let me add to that. Kevin Plank, Investor Day, a couple weeks ago. This is his quote. He may be stretching this a little bit, I don't know. But he said, Under Armour has amassed the largest food database in the history of mankind. EJ talked about it yesterday. He said, I think in MyFitnessPal, which is, if you don't use it, it's where you log food. MyFitnessPal is like something like 40 or 50 million active users. And what do? They log everything that they eat. I get emails from MyFitnessPal every day. 5 of 7 days a week. You know what I get? Recipes. There is no one who knows more about what I eat and the products I buy than them. It's about a healthy lifestyle. Growth cohort. Who's thinking about partnering up with Under Armour? They sell shoes and shirts. They're in a different segment. Are they? They are a social network, an engaged social network with an amazing amount of information. They had already, year to date by September, had logged over 6 billion food transactional entries, year to date in September. So, growth cohort, healthy lifestyle. What do you do if you're interested in a healthy lifestyle? You're digitally engaged. Why? Because you need information. Makes sense if you think about it. Here's the thing about food that's different from many other products you buy. It is intensely personal. There's not a single one of us in this room that has exactly the same way of tasting and preferences for food. Not one. We all approach it a little bit differently. How do we market to people, though? What's our historic approach? Mass, right? Yet the choices are intensely personal. You heard personalization referenced a number of times before this morning. Here's why you care. Consumers expect it. This isn't coming in like 3 years. They already want it now. They're not happy with you if you're not doing it. They're not happy with us. They're not happy with our channel partners, especially given that they go through a food buying process 14 billion times a year. They do largely the same thing every time, right? And it's like Groundhog Day. So it's fragmented. The process is fragmented. It's not convenient. It doesn't meet expectations around being personalized. Why might we have unmet needs? Leading CPG companies are creating seamless, personalized experiences. They're moving beyond interruptive advertising. Almost everybody, I suspect most of you, get really annoyed when you go to websites or a digital experience where the content has nothing to do with your interests. I don't know about you, but if I get one more display ad for News Star, I'm going to lose it. Everywhere I go, News Star, I don't care. It follows me everywhere. But think about it. Offers, ads, promotions. How much money do we light on fire because we're talking to people about stuff that they're not interested in, and we can know better than that? Most of our marketers struggle to personalize content in, what did we hear about? Real time. This has to be in the moment, contextual. This is why real time matters. When we're talking about the connected consumer and meeting those needs, if we're not there in the moment, the interest is gone. We've missed the opportunity. What are the challenges of personalization? Getting insight fast enough, having enough data because you're not collecting it, and the accuracy of it. Personalized emails, here's an example. They deliver 6x higher transaction rates. And yet most of us fail to use them. We're buying display ads. Why do we do that? It's hard to change. We're used to the way we always did it. Display ads are a media mix decision. Instead of putting an ad in a magazine or dropping a circular, a freestanding insert, or getting on the circular. So something as blocking and tackling as email, and we still haven't mastered that. We're not using it at scale. Millennials love emails. Did you know that? They love emails. We're not using them. All right, that was to get your attention. Hey, marketers cite gaining higher response rates and engagement rates, #1 reason for personalized content. It gets attention. It gets consideration started. And when you do personalization, really on any digital touch point, things like time on site, bounce rates, page views, and conversion, they buy more, it all improves. Loads of data on this. 39% of shoppers who receive the personalized offer or recommendation, they spend more. Where else in your business do you see stats like that, where you see double-digit anything? Except sometimes in commodity costs going up. Now, we're talking about food. Here's the challenge. How do you buy food? You use 2 senses. We use our eyes, we use our sense of taste. Technically, I guess it's 3 because smell is a big part of taste. So, in this article was published in Media Post, Julie Quick was talking about, the title of the article is Why Many CPG Marketers Are Nervous About Online Grocery. Why are they nervous about engagement around digital touchpoints? In the foods area, it's because how do they convey taste? And the imagery that they can use tends to be pretty tiny. It's a big problem. So, here's a quick case study. So with all that said, when I was at McCormick, I was the CIO for a long time, and I had a plus that went along with that. And I got to do a lot of strategy work and then lead the implementation in a range of areas. And the last 4 years I was there was working with the concept of the connected consumer and incubating growth strategy. And one of the concepts we came up with was this idea of digitizing taste. Right? We saw all these touch points were available. We started thinking that maybe we could do more for the consumer than just tell them how great our products were, because we knew a lot about food. And so we came up with this idea called flavor print. So that little icon on the left, each of those spikes is a flavor. We took 16,000 aroma chemicals and boiled that down into 33 tastes. And then we also modeled 17 textures, and we did it to a standardized scale. And we created a means to create a taste and texture fingerprint for any food item. Basically build a genome for food. Whether it's a UPC you buy in the store, a menu item at a restaurant, a recipe, any food item can get a flavor print, a fingerprint. You know what else gets a fingerprint? You, me, everybody. Same capabilities. We evolved to actually profile and then learn about you, to be useful to you. I'll give you a couple of examples of how. So here's what a flavor print looks like for blueberries, brownies, and a jar of wonderful gourmet celery salt. Get the idea? Every food item has a flavor print. Based on things you do, and there's all kinds of streams we can look at, we can profile you. We can even give you a quick little quiz and get a starting point and then use some machine learning to learn about you. So we can create a flavor print for you. You see 4 people represented on the right. Just like all of us in this room, we all have a unique flavor print. You know what my top 2 flavors are? Garlic onionish, that's one. Coffee chocolatey is another one. And my third one, which I've been working to change, is cheesy. That's a joke. It's true, but it's supposed to be funny. It's cheesy. Heat's getting there. I'm almost there. I just have to do a few more interactions, I think, to get cheesy subordinated a little bit. If you get my business card, we put it on there, and it says I'm cheesy. Plus bunch of other information about you if you choose to provide it. Right? Cooking skills you might have, food avoidances, dietary interests, and so forth. It's expandable. And at McCormick, what we did was we took these capabilities centered around the ability to digitize taste, and we created a number of applications. One of them was a recommendation engine, and we plugged it into McCormick.com. We didn't promote it, nothing. We got about 300,000 people using it. And here's an example of what you'd see. Like on the right-hand side of the screen, you see recommendations. See how it says there's a compatibility score? That's a percentage match to you. Every single person who is a flavor print user that goes to McCormick.com gets a unique experience. Content tailored to you. Very simple implementation. This is one case, one use case, one simple example. So not only is it personalized, but it's contextualized. Contextual, like what kind of skills might you have? What day of the week is it? What time of day? Is there an occasion that's coming that's close by? They're different things. You can be personal without being contextual. When you do those two things together, it's a 1 + 1 = 3 kind of equation. So what you have across the bar chart here is different engagement metrics. Duration visit, return visit, bounce rate, so forth. As you can see, there's a factor difference between a flavor print user and an average McCormick site user in every case. Factor, not percentage, factor. Marketers get pretty excited about that stuff. Here's what they get really excited about. So we had about 300,000 of these folks. We measured behaviors of 30,000 in the grocery store. They bought more. They bought a lot more. Not just of McCormick, but of category and more, and even more basket. They bought bigger baskets. Because what they were doing is they were finding solutions. They weren't just finding individual products, they were creating solutions, and then they were shopping for them. So things like proteins, like chicken and beef and pork and fish went up tremendously. Basket size rose. Baskets rose as much, almost as much as the McCormick sales did, and it was a double-digit gain. Double-digit in businesses that are growing single digits, low single digits, especially when you talk about organic growth. So we were selling more of the stuff that we were already making. So we got pretty excited about that. That's a pretty wild slide. Not sure why it's doing that, but there you go. So the point is that, but at McCormick, what we also realized was that what we had invented had more value if it could be everywhere than if it was just something that you would use when you were experiencing McCormick. And so we decided to create Vivanda, and that's a little company I run now. So Vivanda was spun out of McCormick to take this tech, to go get outside funding, and to make this service available to the network of food or the food ecosystem. Not when I say the service, a combination of standardized data to enable analytics, different mechanisms for making recommendations and personalizing experiences, and then the notion of a portable profile for the consumer. So let me show you some examples of how I hope it will work. We're in the process of getting our first customers, both retailers and manufacturers. So imagine this is Snackworks. This is a mock-up for Mondelez. So it's a mock-up, it's an illustration. So what if you went to Snackworks and you're a flavor print user? Guess what? Now Snackworks is personalized. What if Snackworks can replicate or beat those engagement metrics that were enjoyed on McCormick? All these recipes that are being recommended here are recommended specifically to you, to their compatibility to you. What if you were shopping at Albertsons and you were looking at the coupon gallery? And what if there was a way for Albertsons to now promote coupons to you with a manufacturer partner specific to you? Not any brand of Ritz, $1 off. But how about the toasted cheddar Ritz, which you can imagine I would like because I'm cheesy, that would have a 98% compatibility to me? So what if I curated the weekly circular and then provided more recommendations for the items in it with what you could do with it, or coupon galleries, or products that you're browsing based on your taste preference? I say, what if? What did we start out with? Taste drives choice. Price helps to close the deal. Put the two things together, you're cooking. Email. Here's a Shoprite example. This is an email. It's got two different things, and again, using Mondelez products as an example. Mondelez recipes, personalized to you. Imagine Shoprite sending out emails. They have something like 2 million loyalty members that they can email every week. Imagine that they send every single one of them a unique content, personalized to the individual, in partnership with their brand partners. Look down at the bottom, the little bling bling ad. That's for a new type of Oreo, personalized to you. If you're more like vanilla than I'm chocolatey, you're going to get the vanilla. If it's me, I'm going to get the chocolate one. You can put coupons in here, references to the circular. Now you have a way to take all that content and put it together in more interesting and useful ways. And this provides a means for the manufacturer and the retailer to work together. Because Sarah might have got her flavor print while she was on Snackworks, but that's part of what we're doing is we're providing portability of that profile to then put it to work for her at Shoprite. I don't know if we're going to pull this off, but that's the vision. That the consumer has a portable taste profile that they can take everywhere to help all of us in the network of food better meet her needs. So portability is the last leg on that stool. Standard data, API services for personalization and contextualization, and then portability of a profile. All centered around the consumer. Last example, what if we made it fun? We always say, well, what can we do with social media? Why don't we turn creating food solutions into a game? Why don't we use our flavor print to help us figure out stuff we're going to like to eat and then create a grocery list at Albertsons to go buy it? You can do it right now. And then analytics. Think about all of the data that's out there that we all already have. Think about every data set you have that's got a UPC key in it. And what does it have mostly besides that? It has price. We have analyzed price to death. Price is the second aspect of making choice. It is not the first. What if we actually put these taste attributes into those same data sets? You think we might find some new insights? That graphic really is not displaying. That is the network of food, which we are all in. So 3 things I'm going to close with. Mine for new insights and attributes at scale, externalize the enterprise, and embrace a network centered on the consumer. 3 recommendations I'm going to leave you with. This is basically how you put some of these concepts we tried at McCormick into action. Analytics, data. 71% of companies say that improved use of data analytics was top priority for the IT organization. Let's get on it. You heard about all the technology. You guys have it. You have it or you have access to it. Let's go. And as we do these analytics, when we mine for insights, we're mining some of the old data for new insights, but we're also mining for some new things, like targeting, our ability to target consumers at scale so we can get more effective at inspiration to action. The second thing is every product is a service waiting to happen. We are, as an industry, massively product-centric. We advertise our products. What if we started thinking more about the problems that we solve for our consumer? We all know that stuff. It's part of what our brand promises are. What if we brought those promises to life in the moment for the consumer? That's what digital means. Don't interrupt me in a different way. Help me. You know so much about me. Help me. That's what it means to expose your brand as service. Again, you saw technology that will help you do that. For my money, you want to understand what Hybris can do for you? That's what it does for you. And you don't have to be doing e-commerce in order to get value out of that. Every CP company should be collecting data on its consumers. It shouldn't live with your agency, it should live with you. You should know every single thing about the ultimate consumer and make that as big and as vibrant as possible. And along those same lines, I saw this term recently. I thought it was really cool. Living services. What it means is externalize your business to the consumer, to your trading partners, to the network of food. For the technical folks in the room, what it means is you need to be an API. We have talked a lot for the last 20 years about optimizing our operating models. That's largely what happens inside the four walls of these massive corporations that we have lived in. It is now time to spend time on how to turn it inside out. We have all this information that can be of so much value to our consumer. Let's use it. Let's make it available to them. That's the example at McCormick. Oops, sorry. So API. And then the last thing is, be truly consumer focused. Embrace that notion of a portable profile that's available to everybody. It's not that your stuff is available to everybody, but it's that the knowledge of the consumer and what she wants, especially as it becomes, we just start with food, right? Taste preferences. That we can all better target what we're doing and collaborate together to meet those needs. It's the portability idea. EJ talked yesterday about speed. All this digital stuff is a train moving at 10 times the rate. 10x the rate. How fast does your company move? I know how fast my old company moved. 10x wouldn't have been the number. And I say that respectfully. We did some amazing things. 10x. So, my call to action to you is to understand this notion of the Internet of Food being the connections to the network of food. You are all in the network of food. The Internet of the Food is an on-ramp for you to those growth cohorts that I was talking about. Growth is out there. It is accessible to you. You have everything you need to do. You have everything available to you, all the piece parts, to get after it. And if you don't have them all, you can get them. So here's what I want to close with. You heard the phrase yesterday. Run networked, run real time, run simple. My goal for CP within SAP is we add a fourth one, which is run tasty. And with that, I say thank you and see if there's any questions. We've got 5 minutes.
Jerry, that was a very transformational and game-changing presentation for me. When I think about what you presented, I think about the issue. I'm going to broach an issue that a lot of people don't broach, which is obesity in the United States.
Yep.
Obesity amongst adults, obesity amongst children. Have you thought about how your application applies to that space?
Absolutely. I think wellness is really, it is a growth opportunity for the industry. It is a serious consideration for a massive number of families, not just in this country, but around the world. And figuring out what to eat to address not only obesity, but a whole range of health considerations, even just a healthy lifestyle, is a huge opportunity and can be very personalized. So it's a layer that goes around this. And it's a great way to work into the opportunity with the connected consumer. So it's a real problem that we can do real things to help to address.
And by the way, Jerry, I'm not coming up here to give you the hook. I'm coming up to kind of build upon that, because we were working in this kind of a design thinking session with BASF. We got together a wide variety of agribusiness companies, consumer products companies, and what we targeted as a potential future application targets exactly childhood obesity, where we look at the fitness trackers, where you can understand how much your children have, because a lot of single households, a lot of single parents, They don't know their kids are at school. They don't know what they've eaten, so they can't take that into consideration to what they should make for dinner. They don't know how active they've been, as well as just the whole personalized nutrition. So this is a vista that's opening incredibly up in terms of opportunity to impact people's lives in real meaningful ways. So
Absolutely. Anybody else? Are you awake?
yep.
Yeah.
Question down here.
Hey, Jerry, that was great. I go back to your statement on Under Armour and how they know more about food than anyone else.
Yeah.
And what you said on after that is who would have thought that could be true if they're in the apparel space or whatever. So, what advice do you have for companies to identify who they should partner with? What are some of the key things to look out for, since it's not always sort of a direct line or an obvious thing?
Right. I think the advice is to really challenge historic assumptions about where your consumer is and where she or he are making decisions. I think it's kind of like almost oversimplified, but I think in doing that, there's some obvious places to go look. We talked about those cohorts of consumers, so where are the foodies looking for help? Where are the conversations with millennials taking place where they're getting advice to make decisions? Where are these healthy lifestyle consumers spending a lot of their time? I think there's probably less than 10 questions. I think every organization could ask itself and say, okay, what do we know about that? And let's go, and you can get a little help too, right? But I mean, I think it is actually, you can go out and, like the Under Armour thing is, they're very public about it, right? I mean, their CEO said, we have the largest food database in the history of mankind, and we want to make a difference in people's lives. And then he puts up another slide that says, and by the way, we see an adjacent market space that we want to assist, which is globally a $3 trillion market space, and it's food. And he's spending 10 minutes of his intro talking about it. Not shirts and sneakers, food. They don't sell any food. But they can affect lifestyle. And that's what they want to build, is a community. So I think looking for non-traditional partners is a great way to start. And I also think looking for ways to approach traditional partners differently is another angle to pursue. So have a different conversation with a retail partner around how you help them take advantage of the connected consumer. Because what they're looking for is what you guys have, content.
And by the way, since I'm on the audience's left, I would ask a left-brained, or point out a left-brained benefit. That when you look at every food company in here, are you tracking just in your manufacturing or how you promote or what products you develop? Are you tracking taste attributes? Because one of the great things about what Jerry and his team have developed is you can go across your bill of materials and then put a flavor print on every single product that you have, as well as all of the components of materials that go into products. So you could start to say, let's look at a specific demographic, and we think the predominant flavor print is cheesy, as an example. What is the percentage of our product line that we have in that area? Are we constantly coming out with new products in flavor prints that are no longer growing? So it becomes an attribute and a capability that can have both left brain and right brain benefits.
So it looks like we're out of time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and one more? Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. Absolutely fantastic representation around the collaborations all the way down to the customer level. With personalization and this type of scenario, do you agree that companies, and you mentioned promotion a couple of times and personalization, do you agree with the fact that companies will not have to go to the depth of discount with offers if we're actually meeting their needs with something they want?
I think that's what the experience at McCormick proves.
Right.
We didn't grow because we were selling it cheaper. It's about something other than the race to the bottom. I think we have demonstrated that that's a likely outcome. Now what we want to do is prove it at scale.
Right.
Hey, one last thing for me is we have several retailers and partners who are interested in some pilot collaborations with food companies. If you have any interest in some pilot exploration, it would be very low cost but very high interest. I can assure you, you have my contact information. Please reach out. Would love to talk to you about that, and you'd like the partners. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerry. Thank you very much.